me, Mario!
On June 14, 2004, Cartoon Network had a major overhaul. The Cartoon Network City era was born, and it brought all of the well-known characters of the new and the old shows together in one city. This was a very experimental time for Cartoon Network, as many of the older shows were ending, and there were a lot of new shows that came out as a result of this rebrand. The City era would introduce the world to a brand new logo, which gave Cartoon Network the abbreviation emphasized as CN, while still calling themselves Cartoon Network, including the slogan. In this video, I will go over the best times Cartoon Network had in the City era, including the good shows they still had, and why the City era was not that bad. Cartoon Network City era was actually one of the best eras of all time for Cartoon Network, especially in the 2000s, and I can name things that happened during this era, for example, to explain why.
Hello? Hello?
Next time, I decide what we're doing.
I got you now. You want some more side work?
Now where did I park that thing?
Here you go, Professor.
Trash disposal. Check.
Get to the van! There! Don't flood it, you stupid dog!
This is Cartoon Network.
The City era marked a turning point for Cartoon Network. The older shows like Johnny Bravo, Samurai Jack, and the Powerpuff Girls were ending, including the classic cartoon reruns moving to Boomerang, while new shows such as Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Camp Lazlo, and Ben 10 were coming out. Shows that continued included Codename Kids Next Door and The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. The City era was known for the live-action Cartoon Network Fridays, hosted by live-action hosts with segments, musical performances, and new episodes of current and newer shows every Friday night. First, let's start with the Friday night block known as Cartoon Network Fridays. This successor to Cartoon Fridays had live-action hosts, and with their new episodes of Cartoon Network shows including segments such as Black Clay Fables and musical performances. This marked one of the major turning points of Cartoon Network, but it was much easier to do this where a live show happened on Friday, as opposed to animating the characters with a background. There was even a DVD for Cartoon Network Fridays with shows like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Billy and Mandy, and Camp Lazlo. This block lasted the entire City era and even had references to past stuff from Cartoon Network in the intro and gave viewers hype to look forward to new episodes. Toonami would continue, but it would be a Saturday night block only for the rest of its run. Weekday afternoon Toonami would be replaced by Maguzi, which had shows such as Teen Titans and Totally Spies, as well as other action cartoons. There was even the Cartoon Show, which had reruns of the older canceled shows. Now for one of the main reasons I made this video. I wanted to talk about the Cartoon Network City era for the best summer to come out of this era, and that's one of the reasons I made this, which was the summer of 2005. The summer of 2005 was the best summer ever for Cartoon Network, and that was because it was a huge celebration with new episodes of shows such as Billy and Mandy and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, while also having new shows such as The Life and Times of Juniper Lee and Camp Lazlo. Camp Lazlo was created by the same person who created Rocko's Modern Life, Joe Murray, and there are many similarities to both those shows. Summer 2005 was only 20 years ago, and there would never be a summer for Cartoon Network as good as this one since then. There were even reruns, including older Cartoon Network characters featuring promos, as well as a summer kickoff special talking about the new shows as well as what was going to be on Toonami that year. There was, of course, summer 2006, right when the City era was starting to end, but it wasn't as good, and there wasn't a big celebration like 2005 was. The City era was also used in Europe, Asia, and Latin America would keep the City era all the way until 2010, while in the US, the City era mostly went away by 2007. There were some bad things about the City era, such as the daytime preschool block Tickle You, but that block didn't last long. It had some shows like the American dub of Peppa Pig and Joe McBoing Boing, but those shows would air until 2007. The only other thing that was bad is that this is when more live-action projects would become a thing on Cartoon Network, but there would still be mostly animation on Cartoon Network, as movies such as Reanimator would only be minor compared to most programming, especially with Fridays being hosted in live-action, but it was still great because there would be new episodes of cartoons airing every Friday night. I would say 2005 was the best year for Cartoon Network. Despite Tickle You, the summer and fall of 2005 were great times, especially for the cartoons that were out at the time, as well as all the new premieres that Blockbuster Tsunami had to offer, such as Naruto, and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Watching new episodes premiere every night on Fridays was exciting back then, especially if you were alive back then, getting home from school. If you weren't at an after-school event or had to do anything else related to that on Friday night, watching Cartoon Network before the weekend began was a real treat to start the weekend. The bumpers were probably some of the best things about this era. The bumpers included Cartoon Network characters interacting with each other. It was cool seeing characters from different shows seeing each other like a crossover in between shows. There was never an era quite like this, although there were some bumpers made before that were similar to this. No other era of Cartoon Network can compare. I will play off some of the bumpers to show off how great this era is.
Unimaginable doom in 3, 2, 1.
Ready or not, here I come. Where are you guys?
Despite the later decline, Cartoon Network City was one of, if not the best era of Cartoon Network ever. And ever since then, Cartoon Network has not been the same. Even though a lot of the older cartoons, such as the WB and Hanna-Barbera cartoons, moved to Boomerang since then, there is still a variety of old and new Cartoon Network originals and other great shows, whether the new shows were for better or for worse. And yeah, that was my video talking about the Cartoon Network City era, how great it is, and this will be one of my only videos where I talk about Cartoon Network past 2004. And this was just a brief summary of what the Cartoon Network City era was, just the best way I can do it. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. This has been Brick from Nostalgia Network, and I'm out.